Incoming transmission.
Klingon word of the day is sick. Gary, do you think you could use that in a sentence?
Sure, Todd. I'm sick of watching Enterprise.
These are the voyages of the starship Enterprise.
So, this is a huge victory for the good guys.
Scotty, beam me up.
Resistance is futile. Live long and prosper.
Boldly go where no man has gone before.
Greetings and welcome to the Computer Resume podcast, a show covering the entire Star Trek franchise in chronological order for fans new and old. I'm your host, writer-comedian, Mr. Todd A. Davis. Well, folks, we started this show with him. It's only fitting that he help us close out Enterprise, living his best life with the National Wrestling Alliance. It's Gary Horne! Yay!
Yeah!
Gary! How you doing, buddy?
Oh, I'm so good. I'm excited to be here. Excited to be back. Excited that we're wrapping up this show.
Yes.
No, I sound mean, and I think as we get into it, I'll tone that down a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, it's this show, like any other show in the franchise, like any other show, period, is definitely not without its rough spots. But here at the end of Enterprise, to go ahead and kind of show my hand a little bit, I really dig it. It had a lot of potential. I don't think it got to exactly meet that potential, and it ended, shall we say, on a kind of a flat note. But as a whole, I think it did really well. I think it's a really interesting, unique chapter in the franchise.
Well, the episodes we're covering for sure definitely feel like the end to the series. If you're going to have an end to the series, it really does feel like maybe it was from that time period from before. You had shows knowing well in advance that they were going to be ending or something, or maybe it was a surprise for Enterprise. I honestly don't know. I did not have a chance to really look at that, but it does feel like it could have had a bigger ending, I guess. But as far as you're putting together the United Federation of Planets, it's not that bad to wrap it up on.
Yeah, because I mean, from what we've got going on in the franchise as we know it, it's kind of like, oh, it got really bad. There was World War III, and then the Federation just happened. Like it just from out of nowhere.
Right.
But yeah, I think some of the shows, is like you mentioned, more recently, they kind of go into it knowing, hey, we're going to be running for 5 seasons. We're going to be running for 6 seasons. We're doing 12 to 15 episodes a season, and we're going to knock this out, and that'll be it. That's all she wrote, and everybody's on to the next project. But like around this time, it wasn't such a set thing.
It's a weird thing with Star Trek, like, because it's not like the original series was, season long arcs or anything like that.
Right.
But people might have gotten used to, as it was like, as Next Gen started carrying on, they started getting a little bolder with carrying out storylines, and the Deep Space Nine had like an overarching story, and of course Voyager, obviously its whole show run was an overarching story.
Yeah, pretty much.
And but so this one, it's interesting because it does, it has a lot of these random episodes in the middle, and I actually was looking up stuff to as I was going through it to like try to find out like what are the essential episodes, like what do I have to watch and that sort of thing, because I wasn't going to get all 20 something of each season in.
Right.
And we're all very busy, I get it, and as much as a Star Trek nerd as I am, it's just in the time frame of getting to the end of this show with you, I was like, all right, I gotta get the important stuff. And anyway, somewhere along the way, I will say this, in those essential episodes, I think it was from wired.com is where I was really kind of bouncing off of, mostly because they narrowed it down to like each season. They had like 4 episodes that they were like, watch these 4 episodes. Like, you have to watch these. And so I did that. And of course, these 2 were in that list. And And I think actually in season 4 they had several, because there was the Mirror Prime universe, or the Mirror, or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
And then there was the other part with Data's daddy in there.
Yeah.
And, so they had that stuff. So anyway, I feel like I'm rambling, but my point is that they had some more longer arcs in this story, or this season, and then along the way in those essential episodes, whoever put that together, I watched those, and by the end of the show, I was like, well, now I like these people, and damn it, now I should go back and watch all these. Like I'm kind of gonna miss them, and I should go back. With
Berman and Braga handing over show running duties to Manny Cotto at the end of season 3, it was just kind of like, all right, we finished the big long story arc, the Zindi War. All right, here you go. I guess we're done. So here, have at it. And he took, Manny Cotto, hats off to him. He was like, you know what? We've done a lot of exploration and introducing, some key character figures, or I should say, some key figures in the franchise, but we haven't done a lot to really connect this show to the rest of the franchise as a whole. And I think that's where you get story arcs like the one with Dr. Sung that addresses the augments, which of course ties into Space Seed, which leads to Wrath of Khan, blah, blah, blah. And then you've got, even a little bit after that ties into another 2-parter, Affliction and Divergence, I believe, where you see the Klingons using the augment DNA to try to eradicate this virus, but that's where they end up losing their forehead ridges, which kind of answers some questions about what was going on in the original series. Although it's a small group of Klingons, it's not the entire species. So
there you go. Yeah.
So when they appear the way they do in Discovery, it's kind of like, oh, these were part of the ones that weren't part of the thing. Okay, I got it. So they actually did wrap, Manny Cotto really did his level best to try to say, okay, what questions need to be answered? If we've got 22 episodes to get from here to there, because it's a long road, but honestly, 22 episodes is not that long to wrap up a lot of questions in a 50-year-old franchise. What do we need to hit? What are the big ones? What are some of the ones that are kind of weighing on people's minds and all of that? And, there's a lot of fan service to be sure. But I think what they were really trying to do was really just trying to solidify it, instead of it being this outlier series, really connect it to the franchise as a whole. But before we get all into that, I wanted to ask you, Gary, how have things been going with the NWA? Like, I normally start off the conversation with like, oh, how are you doing? How are things going in your life? And then we get into Star Trek. But you know what? This is a special episode, Gary. So I want to know, how are things going with your other 9-to-5? You've got a couple 9-to-5s, but
I do. And so I don't sleep anymore.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
No, they're going good. The NWA is the exciting one, and that's of course the National Wrestling Alliance, along with Mr. William Patrick Corgan, and it's been getting busier for me, I think, because I mean he has another 33 song rock opera coming out, so he's touring and doing his thing now. His tour is about to start, so he's very busy. And so
now, just to kind of clarify what it is you're doing with the company. From what I understand, it's a lot of the social media side and also some on-camera interviews. Am I boiling it down? I mean, I understand that there's going to be some stuff you can't talk about.
Well, no, I mean, it's nothing like that. I mean, it's whatever they need me to do, essentially. Like, we've got a small team, so unlike a lot of other wrestling companies right now, I mean, our team is like a handful of people. We all know each other and work with each other really well, and I think that's finally, I like to think that that's where he wanted it to be, or got it to, that he felt comfortable like going ahead, and he's like, all right, you guys make sure this thing keeps running. And and so which I think is kind of the goal for any business. You kind of want to get it to a point and go,
okay, I've got these folks that I trust, and we've got, you know, a decent amount of resources available to us, and you know, things are in place, some different procedures are in place where this thing can kind of go on its own. I don't have to be so hands-on. And you know, Mr. Corgan seems like a really creative guy for starters, but also kind of a fan. He's a fan first, which is kind of why he got this, is kind of what I've gathered from the different conversations. But I imagine taking over kind of forced him to sit in the driver's seat, whereas he would almost rather be a passenger.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know that I would say like a passenger. He wants, well, I mean, he wants to be the captain of the ship.
Okay.
But,
yeah.
but he expects like to have all of these other positions filled. Somebody's on comms, somebody's, you know, steering the ship, somebody's, you know, in communications or whatever. I already said that one, but you know, you got your science officer, and you got all these different people in these different spots. And so he wants to be able to rely that they're all doing their job, so that he doesn't have to, he needs to have the knowledge, the umbrella amount of knowledge on all of it.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, yeah, when he's, you know, bringing it back down to earth, if he's buying a wrestling company, he's doing it because he's a fan and because he wants to be creative. He's obviously an artsy guy, and he wants to be creative. When you're handling all of the day-to-day nuts and bolts of a thing, you know, you don't get to enjoy as much of the creative side of it. So I think, yeah, what his goal is probably is to be like, I don't have to worry about every single detail of everything. I can get a team together that knows me well enough to know what I would think here, and then I can focus on putting together a show. And you know, like, who should be fighting who, what should be happening here, you know, and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And he can just kind of top level down, kind of dictate like the direction, basically.
Yeah. And I'm seeing, you know, first of all, thank you so much for using an analogy of a starship to describe your other 9 to 5. That was really great.
Right.
If I were more professional, I would have thought of that. But yeah, you've been such a big influence to me. If I can just say thank you for just a second here at the end of this almost 2-year journey through Enterprise. Dude, thank you so much for the times that you've come on, the help that you've offered, especially in the beginning, you know, and, you know, really kind of being that source of, hey, been there, done that. I can see this is coming down the road for you. Here's some directions you may want to take, and some directions you may not want to take. But just thank you so much for doing all that. And I really hope that you've enjoyed the times that you have been on the show. I know there was a time where we entertained the idea of us doing this together, and it didn't turn out that way, but I hope that you're happy with your appearances and your experience and what this show has kind of become under a little bit of your tutelage, because you and Justin, not to leave Justin out, Justin's offered an immense amount of help as well, but yeah, you guys both, and I'll give him an earful of this as well when that time comes. I don't want to let anything out of the bag just yet, but yeah, I just wanted to say thank you for everything that you've done for the show, and I hope that you'll continue to do for the show. And this is definitely not your last appearance, for sure. If I have to drag you kicking and screaming to watch another thing of Star Trek, it's coming, man.
Oh no, Todd, I'm honored. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Like, that means a lot that you even say that. I'm happy to be here, and yeah, I mean, I wish I could talk about Star Trek all the time, but you know, we've all got, you know, time as a constraint on all of us, and so but no, I'm happy to be here, and I love Star Trek so much that, you know, if I could, I would love to have another show that was about Star Trek just like this, you know. No, but you're doing a great job, and so it's great that you have it, so that I can just come on and guest, and I don't have to worry about all the nuts and bolts stuff of the show. I don't have to edit, because you get detailed, man. You work hard on this show, and so I hope people appreciate that. Like, you really put a lot into it, and I'm happy to see my friends succeeding, and I hope we all get to live out our dreams like this. And sorry, my dog.
All right.
But no, you can't make this my last appearance. You can't make my only appearances just to be for freaking Enterprise. And I don't get to talk about any of the fun stuff. I want to talk about Khan. I want to talk about the movies. I want to talk. Yeah, I want to. No. Yeah. I mean, you're getting to Kirk. Kirk's my dude. You're getting, you know, all this stuff. So there's exciting twists and turns coming with Discovery and all of that stuff. So
I'm really looking forward to all of it. But you know what, just before we move back into Enterprise, I do want to say a mutual friend of ours and former guest on Computer Resume podcast, Ren Marie Arrowwood, she said something to me one time, and it's always kind of stuck in the back of my head. It's like, look, if you want to be successful, then you might not get to do all the fun things you want to do all the time. It's a lot of hard work. And she's put in a lot of effort into her job with her tattooing and the success that she's had with any shop she's worked for, but certainly her social media presence and establishing her client base and all of these things. And I remember this because at one point, I think it was before the show started, I was having Picard watch parties. I think season 1 of Picard had just started. And there was a small handful of us that were getting together at the house to watch it. And she couldn't make it one week. And I got on the horn to her and was, you know, giving her a little bit of grief for not being able to come out. But that's when she said, look, if you want to be successful, you might not always get to watch Star Trek with your friends. And that made a special wrinkle in my brain, and I've never forgotten it. And you know, it's causing me to have to, you know, hey Todd, do you want to go to the movies? All right, let's pull out the calendar. Let's see what we got going on, you know, or hey, we're going to whatever convention. You want to go? Sorry, I've got editing to do. Or even stuff here in town where it's like I'm working out and everybody, you know, at the karate school wants to go out for a meal after, you know, a tournament or after a clinic or whatever it is. And I'm like, sorry, I gotta go. I got a show to run.
That's the other side of it, man. I mean, Ren is, and I haven't talked to Ren in forever, but she's lovely. And but she's right, because I mean, the thing is like you know, we're not getting any younger. A time to hustle is now.
Yep.
And, you know, because this is, you know, not to also sound like a downer, but I sort of look at it sometimes like this is my last chance to, like, you know, I wish I'd have known now what I knew in my like early 20s, but I didn't. And, you know, everybody says that. And so here we are. Yeah. And so now you get to hustle and you try to get to make your dreams come true. And you know, knuckle down now so you get to enjoy it later. That's the hope. And I mean, even with wrestling, dude, like, I mean, I love wrestling, but I don't get to see all the wrestling now. Even the NWA, where I started the podcast at first, which it was just fun to make my friends watch wrestling with me and we get to talk about it. And it's cool to shoot the breeze about wrestling. But now, you know, I had to sacrifice a lot of that because I got in it. Yeah. And now I'm there. And it's an experience I, you know, would have only dreamed of. And now I'm there and I have to accept that I'm in it. And a lot of times I'm literally right where it's all happening and I can't watch all of it because I have my job to do. I have my stuff I got to get done. And so a lot of times I don't even know what's happening on the show until I see it on TV sometimes, because I'm just like, yeah, I was there, but now it's not about sitting around and just watching it and talking about it. Now it's like being a part of the process and to learn and gain that experience and to work. You know, it's fun in its own way, though. I think Gary V, I don't know if you ever listened to Gary Vaynerchuk, but Gary V's a guy I enjoy listening to. And a lot of people, you know, he's got his lovers and his haters, but one thing he's always talked about that I truly believe is he says that, like, you've got to love the process. Like that's the part to fall in love with. You can't be loving the end result because you don't know what that's going to be yet. You have to, for you to be happy, you have to be doing this because you love the whole art of doing it.
Yep.
And just the whole thing that happens. And then everything else is, you know, just icing on the cake. And so I do agree with that. And so I look at myself right now and I'm like, am I having fun doing this? Am I having fun that I get to go do these things and be a part of this thing? Then yeah, I do. And if it ends tomorrow, that's an experience that 10 years ago, I would have never thought I'd have. So
yeah, it's fun. I mean, to sort of pull the curtain back on what I've had going on this week, I was actually called to testify in a fairly prominent local case involving I'm not exactly sure what I can and can't say, but it's involving an officer's death. And I was called to testify, and all the witnesses were there, and then they had to sequester us, which basically means they had to move us out of the courtroom so we wouldn't be hearing what was going on, and we basically had to wait till we were actually called to go to the stand and be asked questions and testify in front of the judge and the jury. So my subpoena that I received was for Monday morning, understanding that it covers the entire case. So I have to be there. The courthouse opens at 8:30 in the morning, and we go home when the judge says, okay, we're done for the day. So I went and sat there Monday morning thinking, my involvement in this case is very minimal. I'll probably be on the stand for 10, maybe 15 minutes tops. I'll be done before lunch. And Monday came and went, and Tuesday came and went, and it came time for when I was like, you've got to be kidding. And I have other things going on outside of the show. Like I had doctor's appointments, and I had things to do for my wife, and things to do for my dog, and things to do for the house. Like I had stuff to do, and it's piling up because of this case. And I was sitting there going, God, I wish I was editing. I wish I was scheduling. And that's part of the stuff that's like, a lot of people see the end product with podcasting, with wrestling. They don't see, for every hour that you record, double it for editing minimum.
Yeah.
For wrestling, a lot of people see what hits the screen. They don't see the cities, the hours, the workouts, the injuries, all the other stuff that comes along with it. And I was just talking about wrestlers just then, not to mention the TV production crew who goes through writing and planning and editing and, camera beats and sound, all of that stuff. Like there's so much involved in these things. And if you really want to be a part of it, just like you said, hearing from Gary V, you absolutely have to fall in love with the process. Hands down. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. Because if you're just in love with recording, go ahead, hire an editor then. I don't have any money. Well, then I guess you're going to have to do it yourself.
You have to start loving the other thing, unless you're like born Howard Stern or what. And not to even knock Howard Stern. Howard Stern busted his ass working his way up as well. So, I mean, maybe that's somewhere we'll both get someday. We get to just do the fun parts. I'm waiting for Will Wheaton to retire and say, you know what? I've been following this guy for a while. I'm going to leave the Ready Room after show discussions to this podcaster from Greenville, South Carolina. And man, I'll tell you what, like even to give him all the credit in the world, and not to just I feel like I'm name dropping every time I say it. So it's weird, but like with Billy Corgan, like nobody works harder than that dude.
Yeah.
That dude is running around. That dude has somebody after him every freaking second of the day. Like somebody is trying to talk to him about something.
Yeah.
And it's like somehow that guy shows up in Nashville to record 3 days of TV and then is back writing music. And I've talked to him about that. And just been like, how do you find the time? And his only thing is he's like, if you're honest with yourself, you'll figure it out. And I was like, well, what do you mean? Like, exactly. And he was like, well, most of the time I find that people say I don't have time to get done what I want to get done or be creative. He's like, if you get them to be honest, he's like, well, what were you doing here? And they were like, well, I had this. And he was like, the first thing you listen for is how many excuses they have for why they didn't get something done.
Right.
And he's like, that's the first thing. He's like, I have a very rigid schedule. He's like, I have family time that is like, do not bother me in this time frame.
Yeah.
And he's like, and then I have like my 10 a.m. it starts and it goes till this time.
Yep.
And and each one of those hours is planned. And he's like,
this is my schedule.
Yeah.
And this is the second version of this schedule. It's not done yet.
Yeah, it's crazy, man.
Yeah.
It just but at the same time, I'm like, man, I kind of want to do that. Like I kind of I've been just coasting through on doing a lot of things. I don't know why this Star Trek podcast turned into this live discussion, but
hey, we've had some really great discussions, Gary, over the course of your appearances on this podcast alone. Not to mention stuff folks don't see and don't hear. But yeah. I think that it is important. I remember working a job one time, and it was just it was a job. It was a paycheck. It was a means to an end, but it was a sales type job. And I remember the person that I was working under at the time said, think of how hard you've worked at jobs you don't like and jobs where you're working under somebody else. Now imagine if you worked that hard at the thing you love, not harder, just as hard. Imagine if you applied that kind of energy to the thing you're really passionate about. If you can do just that, your world will change, because you'll start to see the fruits of your labor, and it won't feel like labor. You're just working it. This is part of that. This is, the tedious thing, the editing, is, one of the things most podcasters can't stand, but it is necessary. You can sit and record and then load that MP3 right up to the internet, and it is what it is. Or you can take a few minutes and find some music and find some sound effects, cut a few things here and there, and you've got a really nice polished show. Now you've got not only a show and a piece of entertainment, you've got a product. You've got a product that you can sell, and you can start making money. It's out there if you want to. I'm not the first. Neither is Gary.
No.
There are people who are doing this. There are people doing this even better than we are.
Well, I don't know if you watched that video I sent to you and Justin in the group chat the other day, where the guy was talking about, he said, most podcasts hit 20. That's about as many episodes as they get. Yeah. So when you get past that number, you're already in like the top 1% of podcasters.
Well, don't just hit that point. He started by saying most podcasters don't make it to episode 3.
Right.
And the minuscule amount that make it past episode 3 don't make it past episode 20.
Because people discount how much work it is. And it is tough. You're talking about like putting in the effort to like your regular job. I mean, the really tough part is at first, especially, it's not that you can just give up your regular job.
Right.
Like you're going to have to do both. You're going to have to figure it out. You're going to have to, and that's why you have to love the process, and you have to, but the thing is like, it's about also taking control of your life. Somebody's going to control your time. Somebody is.
Yep.
And so who's it going to be? Yeah. And so you can be a part of that discussion, or you can just let it happen. And I've been in both situations now. And so, but it's a little bit better once you've got an idea. And it sucks sometimes, like you talked about, to say no to things or not do certain things. But also, in a sense, like it kind of feels good to be like, I can't do this because I'm progressing in another thing, and I've got to do that. Yeah. And, it is a balancing act, because you obviously you don't want to lose track of your friends. You don't want to, you want to give your family enough time. You want to, and so there's a lot that goes.
We're both married.
yeah, exactly. So I can't do this full time, but it's, or like 24/7. I mean, but but it's fun to figure it out, I think, and so, and I still, even now, don't get done half as much I don't get half the ideas I have done. And so it's
right there with you, man.
But I love it too, because it's like, well, my brain's still working, I guess. So one day
we will get there.
My goal now is to be like, do you see what I could do with no time? Imagine if
I had time.
Imagine if I was just making so much money that all I had to think about was like the National Wrestling Alliance,
right?
Or Cinema Shock.
Well, and that's the thing is, I was talking with somebody, I forget who and in what venue, but I was describing, Computer Resume podcast and everything I've got going on with that. And they're like, oh, that's great. And I was just like, and then my other show, and they're like, wait, what? I was like, oh yeah, I'm co-host and now just accepted the role of voice director for Cinema Shock, as genre film history podcast. And they're like, oh wow, that's incredible. And then I was like, oh, and then there's this other show where I'm a featured regular. They're like, wait a minute. What is your life? I was like, yeah, I have to carve out the time. But yeah, it's dude. So let me ask you this, and then I promise, folks, we will get back to Star Trek. We really will.
See.
Yeah. Let me ask you, honestly, do you miss the regular 9 to 5 with no show, with no nothing? Do you miss that at all?
Oh no, never. Yeah, not at all. I would rather it be like this than anything, because it gets my, honestly, this all helped my 9 to 5. This gave me a direction, because I was the kind of person that was showing up to work to just do the job and go home. And then I also like kind of for a little while took pride in that I'm like, well, this ain't where I'm gonna be forever. This ain't my whole thing. And
right.
Like I just want to think about this from this hour to this hour and then move on. And then, but it was a lot of that was also, I've realized, because I would have bosses that be like, okay, you're doing a good job, but like, you're not, like, what do you want to do? Like, where do you want to go? Yeah. And I try to think about the job and be like, well, nowhere here. Like, like nothing here is something I want to do.
Right.
But my wife, actually, to give her credit for this, and I don't even know if I've ever even told her this, but like one of the things that she's done that she's amazing at is she's also carved her own path. Just because she was a nurse and was doing nurse stuff, but then started getting educated on this whole other division of things that goes into the medical field, and it's an up and coming thing. And she's basically in a position now, she's created her own department. Like she has her own people that work for her. Like and so like it was a thing that didn't exist for this huge company that now is encompassing multi-states, that like other people have bought in because this company already had this department that didn't exist before she decided like we're going to need this eventually. And anyway, my point is that let me go into my normal 9 to 5 that was one job and take things that I've learned from like the NWA and say like, you know what we should do is we could have this and this, and one thing we could do is that, and just implement these different things. And honestly, that's become like the regular 9 to 5 job. They've kind of just handed me the keys to be like, all right, just start doing those things here too. And so that's more fun. It's something I already like doing. It's that process. And so, no, I God, knock on wood, I cannot complain. Like, it's been great.
I'll be honest. I wrote my first comic book script on the clock. I had some downtime, and over a period of days, weeks, was able to scrape together enough downtime to put together my first script. And then this show, again, the organization, the script writing, I did it on the clock. A lot of times, during my lunch break, or, hey, the phone's not ringing and I don't have anything in my inbox. Let's crank out a script. So with these 2 episodes of Enterprise, to shift topics sharply here, back to our main subject. The reason
Star Trek.
The reason why we're here.
Space. Final frontier at all.
Yeah.
I have faith of the heart. That's what we're talking about. You got to have faith of the heart, folks.
Hey, you know what? It's good to hear that finally on episode 81, you actually do have faith of the heart, Gary. I'm very happy that it has grown.
It was that stark transition I noticed, like going into like season 3. I feel like they really amped up that song. Like they just got to like a faster strumming pattern, and like the song shifted a little.
They picked up the tempo, a little drums. It's good.
And also finding out Rod Stewart thought enough of it to also have his own cover of it on Patch Adams, apparently.
Yes. You know what, I normally don't put stuff out there like this, but I reached out to Russell Watson, who actually sang the theme song for Enterprise, and said, hey, if you'd like to come on the show and explain yourself. No, I didn't say that. I said, if you want to come on and, talk about your career and everything. I put the invite out there. I haven't heard anything back. I'll be honest, I'm not holding my breath for that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing is, it's just, if you're listening, Russell, it's not you, it's me. No, it's just that it's so infamous because it's just not the ordinary Star Trek theme.
Yeah,
Like,
I imagine he got a note from a producer, from an assistant or so. Oh, hey, they want you to sing this particular song for a thing. What is it? Some space show or whatever. And he was probably like, all right, sounds cool, whatever.
yeah, it's not that he's bad or anything. It's just
No.
like, I don't know, even on Discovery right now, they obviously realize they're like, oh, we need like an orchestral, like epic theme. And
Right.
it's just like, oh, you went with the rock song, Faith of the Heart, And so it's just odd.
Yeah,
That's all.
it is. So with these episodes, we see a big jump to a very particular subject matter, and it's the idea of the human alien hybrid. That kind of take, I mean, there's a lot going on in these two episodes, but that's kind of the focal point, is this particular thing. And I think it boils down to that xenophobia and the racism in terms of the franchise, in terms of this narrative, a lot of things stemming from the attack by the Xindi, which of course parallels what was happening in our real world, 9/11 and all that. So there was a lot of racial tension post 9/11. And I think they're kind of talking about that sort of thing here. And it kind of ended up going a lot further than the our world. The dealings in our world ended up going much further than it did in Star Trek Enterprise with, and I'll stay fairly vague here, but certain officials feel a certain way about certain groups of people that may or may not be correct. A lot of people seem to be disagreeing about some fairly simple issues. But yeah, it's you know what? I'm going to retract. Screw that. It's my show. I can say whatever I want. If you elect racists, they're going to promote racism. and that's the thing. Like, it's a silly I think there's been a few times in my act on, my stand-up act, where I've actually touched on the issues of race. And there's been a question of like, how are you comfortable doing racist material? It's like, honestly, I'm not talking about racism. I'm talking about how stupid racism is. If you listen to what I'm saying, and things like that. And this is kind of, I think these episodes are very important because we're seeing a lot of this hate reflected in our world today. And I mean, this came out 2004, 2005, and here we are, 2022, about to hit 2023, and we don't have flying cars and we're still racist. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, I mean, I think we got to find aliens to hate.
Yeah, we need to find that common enemy.
yeah. That's I've said that for forever, and I don't even think I'm the first person probably to think of that, but it was just always like, oh, what the Earth needs is just like, we need, the aliens to show up so we can all be like, all right, well, at least we're all human. Them. Oh, sorry. I don't remember if I'm supposed to curse on this, but I mean, and not like aliens from like across the border, like aliens from outer space. And then you could,
well, and Alan Moore knew it when he wrote Watchmen. That was, spoilers for 30, 40-year-old comic book, but like that was kind of the end. That was kind of the end game. It's like,
oh yeah, that's true.
If we're going to stop things from, if we're going to stop this world from imploding, we need an alternate. We need an alternate villain. We need somebody to step up and make that hard decision and pin all this stuff on this make-believe alien race so that we can all band together. And the sad, tragic, infuriating part is it worked. It worked.
Oh, yeah. Well, you need everybody to be able to have something communal that you could. It almost felt like, I don't know. I remember when, I mean, this went totally wrong, but I'm saying like, at least for, even our own country's so divided, but like at 9/11 time, it was like, okay, well, we all hate terrorism. Unfortunately, it really leaned on Islamic terrorism. And so, it started to lean a little bit more on one half of that turd than where it should have been focused. But it was, it just, it sucks. It's like, you can't just love, like, you got to have something to hate to like make it all.
And who better to discuss this than two white guys, right?
Two white guys with beards with opinions. It's like, no other podcast does that now. So.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I will say, and we'll, again, we're starting to stray, we're beginning to stray a little bit from Star Trek, and we will get back to that, I promise. But Hasan Minhaj has a great
I love that guy.
Yeah, he's amazing. Really great writer, great performer. He's got a section of, I believe it's Homecoming King, where he talks about people just after 9/11 calling his house and threatening him and like, tell us where they are, tell us where all the tell us where all the terrorists are. I'm sure they used more colorful language, but it's one of those things where in addition to and this is the other thing that really gets to me, is along with this hate, there's also a lot of hypocrisy that comes along with it, especially when the people who are doing the majority of the hate-filled speech and or activities are using a religious figure to justify it, when that religious figure, I mean, literally preached love and tolerance and helping your fellow man and all of these. I was like, whoa, you completely missed the boat. Like, how did you go so far away?
I think a lot of, and to be fair to a lot of people of like, like Christianity or even Islam, a lot of those people are going to be like, there are extremist versions of this religion that are doing this thing. It's not the majority. And no, you're right. I mean, I think literally the other day, because as we're recording this is September, so I think it was around September 11th, I was reading about, we love to focus on the unity that happened around New York around the time and all of that. And that is special. And there were brave people involved but there's an ugly side to it too. Like not the least of which is, this is, again, we could go off on a tangent here, but Jon Stewart having to petition freaking government for forever to just get benefits for the firefighters that were involved in it. That's ugly that even has to be a discussion. But also, I think I was reading about how like the first person who died after 9/11 in the US, or was murdered in the US, was like a Muslim man who was murdered by people assuming he was a terrorist or like threatening him as a terrorist and saying he wouldn't know, the thing that Hasan was talking about. Basically this guy died because of it. Like they killed him because they were like, you're one of these guys. And it's just effed up, man.
Yeah. And I always think back to, because that was the other thing in terms of pop culture, which, we're talking about pop culture with Star Trek, but in terms of pop culture around that same time is when Marvel relaunched Captain America. I remember especially the black issue of Spider-Man, where Spider-Man is looking at Steve Rogers, who's just kind of taking it all in a moment there, ground zero. And Spider-Man says, I can't imagine what this is like for him. He's had to see this twice. And, going back to what you said, Gary, there was a lot of unity around that time, but there was an ugly side too. And it goes back to World War II. A lot of people like to think Superman, Captain America, punching out Adolf Hitler and stuff like that.
Listen, that black issue of Marv or Spider-Man, it had like Dr. Doom, who I feel like would launch a terrorist attack. If anybody would. So it's a little weird for an issue.
It's an important thing because when you see, what was happening in World War II, a lot of people remember Cap punching out Hitler. Right. They forget about the internment camps. Like, we didn't come out so squeaky clean either. And Nick Fury addressed that in Captain America: Winter Soldier, talking about, I read those SSR files. You guys did some nasty stuff. Yeah, we did.
Well, it's again, I mean, it's really easy to not take the bigger lesson. which is what Star Trek, I feel like, was supposed to always be about, the hope of us all getting it together, because a lot of times, even in the aftermath of these big, huge, ugly events, it's easy to just try to find something to blame besides looking at ourselves. And there's a again, not to drag this on, but there's a guy I listen to a lot of, a streamer. His name's Hasan Piker, and he got in a lot of crap because he did say something along the lines of like, we had this coming like around 9/11 or something. Ooh. And and so he got canceled for a minute. And as canceled as people can be these days. And he's still around and doing stuff. And he kind of, even when he talks about it, does a little cringe, but his point at the time, I think, was that he was just like, we're not seeing what we're doing in places and how we're treating other people. And that, everybody likes to pretend like 9/11 was this attack on us, that we all came together and we were like a bunch of heavenly angels fighting against the devil. And, he's like, but we weren't all perfect at that time either. No. Even in 9/11, like, we murdered a Muslim man. And, there was,
have you seen the photos from Guantanamo Bay? Yeah, we didn't come out of that squeaky clean. No. It's with this particular narrative, you've got, the idea of infinite diversity and infinite combinations really taking center stage with the romance between Trip and T'Pol, and, the things that come about because of that. And then you've got, it all kind of boils down to this one figure whose hate and hypocrisy end up boiling over, and him taking a position of leadership, which he really shouldn't have, and ending up using our defenses as a platform to hold people hostage. And it's absolutely wild to look at these two episodes and see where it came from at that point in time and how it manifested itself in our reality again, not that long ago. But before we get into too much more detail, let's get to this week's recap. Brought to you in part by our Patreon supporters, Rev J, Jerry Antimano, Cosmic Crit, and Kitty B.
Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert.
Terror spreads over the earth.
We must reject the impure and cast it out!
I am returning Earth to human beings.
And the greatest threat of all,
a Vulcan human hybrid, the offspring of Commander Tucker and Commander DePaul,
is a little child.
They're going to kill her.
RoboCop's Peter Weller guest stars.
She looks so innocent.
Star Trek Enterprise.
Enterprise returns to Earth in order to attend the formation of a coalition of planets. Nathan Samuels, a United Earth government minister, gives a speech, but he fails to mention the contribution the Enterprise and her crew made to get the aliens to work collaboratively. A woman, later identified as Susan Corey, staggers over to T'Pol and produces a vial containing a hair follicle before collapsing and dying from a phaser wound. Back on Enterprise, Doc Phlox examines the hair's DNA, learning that it is from the offspring of T'Pucker, but T'Pol denies ever being pregnant. Archer meets with Samuels, who's concerned that news of the child will stir xenophobic sentiment.
Reed is ordered by Archer to make use of his Section 31 connection for information.
He's informed that Corey was a member of Terra Prime, an anti-alien movement.
Meanwhile,
in the Terra Prime HQ on RoboCop and Dr. Mercer discuss the child. After Mercer leaves, RoboCop sends for Daniel Greaves and tells him to deal with Mercer. On Earth, Archer tells Samuels that he knows that the minister was a former member of Terra Prime and convinces him to provide a case file on Corey.
Meanwhile,
Travis gives his reporter ex-girlfriend, Gannett Brooks, a tour of the ship.
Yeah, right.
On RoboCop watches footage of Colonel Philip Green. That'll come back at the end of TOS, I promise. Greaves enters and updates RoboCop on the status of the child, and RoboCop injects himself in the neck with an unknown substance.
3 darts is too much!
Phlox then reports that Corey's body contained traces of a substance used in a zero-gravity mining facility. T'Pucker volunteer for an away mission to... Barely disguised as miners, they are quickly detained after Booty Call Brooks apparently leaks details of the mission. RoboCop reveals that the entire complex is a warp-capable ship and warps it to Mars, where it takes control of the Verdon Array, a big laser cannon which normally protects Earth from comets.
Ooh, that's interesting.
He uses the array to fire a warning shot and issues an ultimatum. All non-humans must leave Earth immediately. And then... T'Pucker remain captives of RoboCop, who continues to broadcast his demand on all channels and frequencies. RoboCop's actions have an unsettling effect on the interspecies conference, but it's clear that not all humans support it.
Sucks.
On Mars, RoboCop allows T'Pucker to see the baby, and T'Pol uses her scanner to learn that the child is unwell and that RoboCop's been using Rigelian gene therapy to treat himself.
Great.
Seeking to fine-tune their attack, RoboCop then threatens T'Pol in order to force Trip to optimize the targeting system of the array. Enterprise is then ordered to
get your ass to Mars
to destroy the array, but is turned away when a warning shot from the weapon damages the ship. Brooks, now in the brig, reveals to Travis that she's Starfleet intelligence and that Terra Prime probably has an operative aboard Enterprise.
Great.
Under the urging of Minister Samuels, the crew conceive a way to approach the deadly station undetected, using a space bus hidden inside the tail of a comet.
Archer elects to lead the away mission, along with Reed, Phlox, and Travis.
On the way there, the shuttle's systems suddenly fail, nearly causing it to crash.
Whoa, that was close.
Landing on Mars, the team infiltrates RoboCop's ship. Teaming up with Tucker, who escaped his cell, they battle the Terra Prime followers in the control room.
There was a firefight!
During the shootout, RoboCop manages to lock the firing sequence. Fortunately, Tucker altered its targeting system, and the beam misses. With RoboCop under arrest, the hybrid child, named Elizabeth after Tucker's sister, is brought to Phlox, who unfortunately can't do anything to save her. Investigations also reveal that Ensign Massaro was the spy, and he dies by his own hand.
Yeah? Good!
Back at Starfleet, Archer makes an impassioned speech to convince the delegates to explore the universe's mysteries together.
I don't care!
Hey folks, just wanted to take a second to let you know we here at Computer Resume Podcast are currently raising money for a family in need. This is a family Kat and I know personally, and they really need as much help as we can all give. We'll be having a benefit comedy show if you're in the Greenville, South Carolina area at Radio Room on December 6th. But in the meantime, please click the link in our bio on Instagram or Twitter and hit that top link for more details. Thanks everyone. Now, back to the show. So here we see, first of all, we get some really great performances from not only our main cast, but we've got a whole slew of really great character actors and a few A-listers as well. What did you think of these episodes initially, just off the bat?
Oh, it blew my mind. It was especially a big jump. It's what made me go back, because for some reason, jumping from like season 2 to this this episode or to Demons,
yeah,
I was like, wait a minute, a lot's changed. I gotta go back a little bit. So,
oh yeah,
because I was like, it looks better, it feels better. So, and I really think it starts to hit its groove in season 3. Is it really? I don't know. Based on what I could tell, Enterprise really locked it in around then. And no, this episode was just, I mean, it just filled itself up with lots of good people. And you know, you mentioned obviously RoboCop, and there's that guy with the eyebrows. Who's in like some David Lynch stuff, I think. He's in like Mulholland Drive.
Yeah.
He's all over the place. But anyway, there's just it's quality stuff. These 2 episodes felt like a legit, you know, like at least like they could be plotted to be a Star Trek movie, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah, they really could. That's one of the things that I think is additionally disappointing, in that Enterprise didn't get a 5th season, but there were definitely at least a handful of theatrical edits of 2 and 3 part series that someone, I probably CBS or Paramount, just went and cut them together like one big movie and put it out DVD. I've got Blu-rays of a few of those, and they're amazing to watch as a whole. And looking at some of the stuff in the later season, especially season 4 of Enterprise, you really see, oh man, this would have made such a cool movie. This would have been really, really awesome to watch a theatrical cut. You know, I think of the 3 episodes where Brent Spiner guest starred.
Yeah, that was like a good little arc there.
Yeah. And it's interesting, shifting gears here. It's interesting to see, like you mentioned, the difference between season 1 and 2. And if you happen to skip season 3 altogether, it is a big shift, because let's just look at Archer. Archer is in season 1 and 2 is very cowboy, is super American. Like when I've spoken with anybody who's lived overseas, especially the good folks at the Red Shirts podcast, which is based in the UK, they're like, Archer is super American. Like, this feels more American than the entire rest of the franchise. I was like, yeah, it really does. But with the events of season 3 having made Archer face a lot of things that maybe he wasn't ready for, or things that he definitely should have been ready for to be a captain, now in season 4, we're seeing him a little more cautious, and we're seeing him understanding just how important diplomacy is. He's not taking Porthos down to the surface of any of these planets to pee on a tree anymore. He's like, they could very well kill us. That might happen. But yeah, this is really been some fantastic turns in terms of storytelling. I mentioned it towards the top of the show. Not only great storytelling, but storytelling that connects these episodes, but the franchises, but this series to the rest of the franchise. And you know, well, and a lot of people like to bash Berman and Braga, and I understand that. But if you're going to bash Berman and Braga, you also need to praise Manny Cotto.
Yeah, it's tough, because I mean, even off like I feel like one of the things I noticed in this part of the series too is just getting like a little more out of the characters than you normally got. And it's been like slowly happening, but this is another reason I think like 26 episodes on a season is a lot. Like, I think you feel like you got to stretch out a lot of story. Mm-hmm. Some of my favorite shows have been that way, that I wish they could have, like I love the show Supernatural, and I'm like, man, if you could have shortened like 20 something episodes to like 14, maybe, you know, like maybe you could have had all these great character moments, like it just made like a badass every season.
Yeah.
But because I felt like, I was trying to think of other examples, but I'll just jump to my favorite one, who is Hoshi. Like, I love her, but she hasn't done much. Like, she's, I appreciate her. I think she's beautiful, and I love her character. But in like this arc, you get her as like the freaking, captain of the ship for a little while.
Yeah.
Like, she's had to step up from where she was, in the like season 1, where she's like afraid to go on an away mission, now she's the captain. Like, she's standing up to authority, and she's doing something. And it's like, wow, well, it only took, 80 something episodes to get here. And it's like, and that's nice. I'm glad. And Trip has an emotional side, and like, there's, I don't know, there's just a lot of good, like, Jolene Blaylock getting to, introduce a little of those nuances in a Vulcan.
Yeah.
There's just a lot. Mayweather, like Travis, he's good.
He's my guy.
Like, he's stepping up, and I know they've had these like little sparks of it, but it was like, I don't know, when you get to these episodes, it's like, oh, this is a crew nobody should F with. Yeah. Like, this is a fully formed, like, good, solid crew. And it's like, oh, this is also the end of their time.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah,
come on, man.
it was not long before this that they got, I think it was actually mid-season, they got the announcement of that they were not going to be picked up for any more after season 4. And I can't imagine having to go to work knowing, oh, this is ending in a few months. I imagine it might have been, I imagine it was probably one of two ways. It's either, okay, we phone it in. All right, I'm collecting a check. Let's start going on some auditions, or you start swinging for the fences on everything that comes your way. And it's just like, I am going to make them regret canceling us, or, shutting this show down. And to be honest, I think we're getting a lot of the latter. I think we're getting a lot of this, what? Let's make them sorry. Let's make them real sorry that they made this call. And gosh, yeah. I mean,
well, it's like all these people that have seemed insecure. I didn't even mention. I mean, I could literally say, I feel like I could say this about every single member. Like Malcolm, like he's his own dude. Like, he's got his own thing going on with Section 31 or whatever. And he's a badass. Like, he's standing up to them, even, like,
sure.
And don't forget what he believes in.
Yeah. And don't forget, like, when the ship took off, it was just scientists. Yeah, you had Reed, who was over tactical, and he had a couple guys working for him, but they were like, okay, we've got a phaser that's attached to the ship, and we've got some torpedoes that we'll probably use to blow up some asteroids that are in our way or something like that. It wasn't until season 3 that they brought on the Makos. And finally, and I even pointed this out to my wife, I was like, now we have red shirts. These are the folks that go in with guns drawn. This is the security team. We finally have them in the form of these Mako officers, and they're some tough hombres. And Reed stands toe to toe with every single one of them. And it's kind of like, oh yeah, he's a scientist for sure and a tactician, but like, don't mess with him.
Yeah, I mean, it gets to that point again where, like, way at the beginning of this thing, where I was talking about, you want to have your captain of the ship that has a working knowledge of most of the stuff, but can depend on at any point, if I need Hoshi to take over command, Hoshi can take over command. If Reed needs to lead an away party, like, Reed's the guy to do it. And like, it's just like all these people on their own are badasses.
Yeah.
And that's what you have to be on the Enterprise.
Yeah. And it's, and I'll even, I've gone on record as saying Travis is my guy, and I hold to that. But like you said, Hoshi, she came on to this ship as the linguist, but she got training with Reed, and she knows how to handle a phaser. She got taken captive, and she's learned the art of diplomacy by aliens that wanted to just keep her. Yeah. So for her to take the captain's seat, I would have loved to see, like, fast forward a few years, and Hoshi's got her own command. That would have been so cool. That would have been just so cool. But yeah. And, seeing that softer side of Trip, especially their season 1, season 2. He's very brash. And but you know what? T'Pol got under his skin. And yeah, he's a different man now than he was in season 1 and 2. And man,
you know where Hoshi dies, right? Did you see that? I looked that up.
Did you?
I was just curious. I don't remember why I stumbled across it, but on Taurus 4, which you briefly mentioned this in the recap, but that Green, Commander Green, that's going to show up in the original series.
Yeah,
he ends up, because there's like I don't want to, spoiler alert, I guess, but there's a bacteria or something that affects like the food supply for this area.
Yeah.
And he ends up ordering the death of like a bunch of people, thousands of people. Hoshi and her husband are two of those people, supposedly, according to something that shows up in
probably Memory Beta.
Yeah,
probably shows up in a novel or something.
It's on a I was gonna say, I think it said it flashes on a screen in a show, like they're like it's like on screen or something, and it says like parent, ordered death in Taurus 4 or something like that. I don't know, you'll have to look it up, but it's something like that. I was like, oh, that's wicked. But she's like, she would have been like, I think in the year they said it happened, she'd be like 100 and something. So she's old.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
lady, but
yet you had a bunch of folks who got up there in age. I actually, one of the things I mentioned, I had to go to court earlier this week, and they don't allow cell phones in the courthouse, which is why some of my social media posts are late or non-existent this week. But one of the things I did take with me was the novelization of Relics, the TNG episode where they find Scotty trapped in a transport buffer after 75 years. And that novelization is really interesting to see, like, oh, he's now 140 something. And then, Encounter at Farpoint, before they leave dock, Data is walking down one of the corridors with Bones McCoy, Admiral Bones McCoy. And he was an old man to begin with. And now he's really old. But that was kind of one of the things, looking forward to the future is medical technology. Maybe we'll live a little bit longer. I mean, it wasn't that long ago where I, as a 38-year-old, would have been considered ancient in probably maybe not the 1800s, but maybe the 17 or 1600s. Yeah, people died early. So maybe we're getting that part right. I don't know.
According to Memory Alpha, it says Sato had died by 2268 in Enterprise in a mirror darkly. So apparently, maybe that's why I saw it. Maybe it was in that mirror universe thing. They end up like pulling up people's records or something. And anyway, yeah. But the original series episode, the Tholian Web, yeah. That incident, like Hoshi would have been there for that, basically when they, anyway, just thought it was an interesting, stupid fun fact.
Well, looking at some of these things, Star Trek is definitely, it's been well documented that it is a spark of inspiration for a lot of people in terms of, technology and space exploration and a lot of different fields. But also creatively in terms of writing and the process of bringing a show like this to life. Gary, do you have anything other than more Hoshi?
I do talk about her